beautiful. So today, as I was taking each step up this magnificent mountain, I was thinking about a conversation I had here actually a week ago with a gentleman named Juan. Juan was from Mexico, and I happened to ding his door and kind of wasn't aware of the fact that I had done so. I was taking my shoes off, and so he rolls down his window, and then I hear this voice say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you hit my door." And I looked up, and I was so startled by him, and then actually not being aware of the fact that I had actually dinged his door. So I immediately apologized to him. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Of course, I made an excuse for myself and said that I was in deep thought, thinking about a conversation that I would be having actually this past Tuesday concerning mental health safety in trades. And I was talking to him about the fact that I was thinking about some things in my mind while I was hiking up the mountain and coming back down that I kind of wanted to make some notes about. So I apologize for not being present. So that led to an almost 2-hour conversation between two complete strangers. And when we talked about this on Build Out with Jim and Jill as the host and co-hosts, with a panel of Safety Sam, Matt, Sarah, and Juliet, I was thinking, oh, I want to make sure I mention him. And I kind of did, but there were so many people, and you know, when a lot of people are talking, sometimes your thoughts move a little bit more, so you kind of lose that train of thought and you go on to the next thought, and that's just how we're programmed. But anyway, what I wanted to articulate, which I did briefly, but not in the way that I really wanted to, was the message that this man gave me. For almost 2 hours, he shared his story of migrating to the United States when he was 2 years old. He couldn't read, he didn't go to school, and he worked. He worked on farms, and then eventually merged into working in the construction industry for all of his life. And as a matter of fact, the truck that I hit was his work truck, and it was filled with all his tools and what have you, and his lunchbox, and he happened to be eating a banana and drinking water at the time this incident happened. And so what he shared with me that I wanted to communicate with everyone is his struggles with mental health and depression, and how, as a man from another country, he was not comfortable or even permitted to share his feelings or his thoughts or how he felt when he wasn't treated in the most kind way. He mentioned the language, the masculine roles of being a tough guy and not complaining and getting the job done at all, no matter what the costs. And that was important so he could provide for his family still in Mexico, and then his family here. And as a result of the chaos and the stress of the job and the people that he worked with, he learned to manage or cope with his emotions by drinking. Became a very heavy drinker. The drinking then led to issues sleeping. So then he tried different drugs to sleep, which led to taking more types of drugs to stay awake. And I've heard this often in the construction industry and other industries as well, trade industry, professions, how the job and the stress, maybe it's something that factory worker, is doing a repetitive task. I mean, that's not very stimulating to the brain. And of course, there's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of fatigue in these jobs, particularly if, say, for instance, a truck driver driving, having to pay attention to the road, having to pay attention to people and their environment, and communicating where they are, and the long hours and the loneliness. So when I was talking to Juan, it just became a normal part of his everyday living, drinking, using drugs, substance use issues as a way to cope. And then that led to him not taking care of his health, not getting checkups with the doctor, eating processed food, drinking lots of sodas. And he was overweight. He had all kinds of physical issues as a result of this unhealthy lifestyle. And he mentioned 3 different accounts of when he literally had a gun up to his head. I mean, I just thinking about him now, and the fact that this complete stranger shared this story with me, and his eyes were really teared up. I felt his energy, could feel empathy for him in that moment. So I asked him, I was like, Juan, do you mind me asking you, how are you here today? How did you step out of that space? Because I could see now he was in shape. He was smiling. He had a twinkle in his eye. He had a love for life. And it was beautiful. And he was still a construction worker. And he said to me, Rhonda, I stopped because I didn't want to leave my family in a way that they felt guilty. So it was his family that stopped him, particularly his mother. They counted on him. They loved him. They needed him. So it was that family connection that stopped him in his tracks. And then he decided one day, after work, in his construction boots, that he was just going to take a walk instead of going to the bar and drinking. So he decided to walk 1 mile because he just wasn't feeling good, and he thought, well, I can at least walk. That's something I can do for myself. And in the process of that walking, he observed his surroundings and just felt a sense of gratitude and thankfulness that he was still here. He did share that he proceeded to go have that drink afterwards, but that first mile, that first step, that first decision to change something instead of staying on that wheel that he had created, a certain lifestyle of repetitive actions, unhealthy behaviors, that one step led to, in time, him deciding to not go to the bar after work. And then he began exploring the great outdoors, and he became addicted to hiking in a positive way, a positive addiction. And through this experience of taking these steps across the earth, these steps up the mountain, he began to tap into something within him, he said. The spirit, the soul, this godliness, like thankfulness that he's still here. And looking at the beautiful things in the environment that he hadn't been paying attention to. And subsequently, that led to him giving up soda, giving up alcohol, giving up smoking. It was one small change over the course of a year that completely transformed his life. And wow. I mean, the way he eats, what he packs in his lunch, he drinks water throughout the day. He spends time practicing self-care. And through that process of self-care, he has learned that life is an amazing blessing. And we got pretty deep on spiritual chit-chat and his belief system of God, whatever God is. And neither one of us really had a definitive perspective about that, because none of us know. None of us know what's next. But his story was so beautifully articulated, and I said to him, because the moon was kind of still out at the time, I was like, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in our thoughts, and being outside or just looking up at the moon, which I had pointed towards, I was like, it just gives us a sense of how really small we are in this universe. And I said to him, you know, we think as humans that, you know, we're the only humans around, you know, but there may be other universes. We just don't know, and we just don't know what's next. And that prompted him to say to me, we are a universe within a universe within a universe within a universe. And that's really stuck with me. So, like, I'm out here and I see the bees buzzing around, and I see the fog and horizon, and I see all the folks out and about, you know, just thinking, you know, on the other side of the globe, there's a whole bunch of people sleeping or doing their thing. And then when we go up into space, there are so many unknowns out there, and sometimes thinking that way can maybe help us reset our mind so that our struggles in our thoughts can kind of maybe quiet down a little bit. So that's how he found a way to quiet his mind down, by being outside, and that gave him a perspective of there's so much out here to be thankful for, versus just the things that are continuously playing in our head. So for each person, it's going to be different. It's just finding that way to tap into something that's bigger than the problems that we have, and understanding that life is a blessing. We get one ticket here. That's it. So make the most of your ticket. Use it wisely. Use it to explore all the beautiful connections in life. You know, and remember that our minds and the way we think, that's just one little part of our universe within us. We have so many facets that make us who we are. Our physical body. I mean, if you just think about all the systems of our body, they are really essentially a universe within a universe within a universe that are doing miraculous things that we are not even conscious of to sustain us. And this universe, our vessel, so to speak, is just one thing that's connected with all of the environment out here. And who knows what else. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful day. I hope that if you're struggling, that you just find someone who loves you and cares about you, and just sit with them and just ask them to listen and share what you're thinking. And maybe just a hug can change your day. Or go outside in nature and have a chat with yourself. And then decide to do something. Because until you do something, things are not going to change. I wish you all the best. Be well. Live the most beautiful life you can. And remember that your occupation is not who you are. It's just something you do as a human to provide for your family. So throughout the day, try to think about things that you enjoy. Try to be present. Try to look around if you need a little reset time, and just find something that brings you joy, whether it's in the environment or just looking at a coworker or just thinking about your family, something that's meaningful to you, and see if that can help you. And if you need professional services, please seek some help. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Be well.